All right, I believe we are live. How are you all doing? Hopefully, you all had a great weekend. All right, I believe we are live. How are you all doing? Hopefully, you all had a great weekend. A few technical issues, just give me a second. I'll just make a post as well and we should be good to go. Just another tiny second. It's quite frustrating. Right, so before we begin, hopefully, you all attended last week's live stream. So today's stream is going to be heavily dependent on what we discussed in the previous week. We had a clear direction for price, we had clear expectations for price. So we'll be building on the previous week. Just give me one tiny second. Yeah, and we're good to go. All right. So hopefully you all had a good week, although the intraday price action was pretty bad this previous week. As you can see here with the dollar index charts, which opened here on Monday, and we had a down close candle. We had clear engineered liquidity right about here. So this is the one thing I do want to discuss and why this previous week was really low probability. All right. So let's just zoom into this set of price action right here. So whenever we have Monday's range, we usually like to trade off these highs and lows, right? So the most well-known concept would be the classic Monday's range play, right? So we have Monday's high and Monday's low. But in this case, price takes Monday's high on Tuesday, but it doesn't follow through. We don't really get these levels, although we opened all the way here, right? So we have a flat opening price and the price doesn't really take out these lows, right? We do have a nice bullish fair value gap right here. So this is your bullish fair value gap. Price doesn't really push through to these imbalances as well, right? So on Wednesday, this was quite promising because price took Tuesday's high, pushed lower, and we had a really, really nice flat opening price. So your bias would be bearish at this case, and price would have to push lower to these levels, right? So we had clear engineered liquidity, and price should have just pushed lower. But on Thursday, price pushes higher once again, doesn't really meet our objectives. It takes out Wednesday's high once again, closes right about here, just fulfilling the 50% of the previous day's range. So that is all we're doing. Every single time, we have not really pushed to sell side liquidity, right? And on Friday, we have a classic inside bar, right? Or inside day or inside candle or whatever you want. So we have highs being taken out, but lows being left as it is, right? So building on the previous week's live stream, I did mention that I do want to see all these lows being taken out. But price didn't really give us that, although it didn't really expand as well because it just did have one place to go to. And that was to fill this volume imbalance, right? See this volume imbalance right here? This is where price filled, right? If If I extend that, you can see it right there. That is where price filled. So my expectations moving on to the next week is for price to not move higher and expand over this high. I expect price to aggressively push lower, right? So what do I mean by aggressively is these candles, right there. See this aggressive expansion? These thick bodied candles is what I'm expecting price in the other direction. So I want to see price push lower, right? So on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, it can be any of those days, although I expect Monday to consolidate. But since we had an inside day on Friday, that kind of offsets what Monday should ideally do, which is consolidate. So we could get this push lower all the way through to this Fibonacci gap. All right, so that is what I'm going with. So let's move on to Euro USD. So this was quite beautiful. We were somewhere here, right? And we did reach our objectives. I did outline a clear dealing range. We did have a daily fair value gap right here. Sell side liquidity taken out, price pushes higher, takes out these equal highs, moves all the way through. This bullish fair value gap is retested as inversion, equal lows all the way here, price just collapses. Now, we have seen price stop right here, and that is because we did have, and I did mention this, I'm not sure here or in the university, I did mention that we did have this last bullish fair value gap, and that is really where price is stopped now, right? So all of this works really well for a bullish case moving forward. And if we are moving forward and we are bullish, where do I expect price to move to? To this specific daily fair value gap, all right? This is a daily fair value gap right here. You see a clear gap. Fair value gap right there, 3 down close candles. This is your candle 1, candle 2, and candle 3. We have equal highs all the way here. So I expect Euro to push higher. And since dollar index and Euro USD are correlated, dollar can push lower, right? So that's really what my expectations are. Of course, we can delete all of this. We don't really need any of these things anymore except this dealing range. So we'll keep this, and price takes a swing high here and a swing low here. That is where we draw this dealing range from, right? As I explained previously. So moving forward for Euro USD, I am going to be bullish biased on Euro. I expect price to move higher from this fair value gap, and expect dollar index to move lower from this high because it has filled this volume imbalance, right? So that is where we are at. So let's move to GBP USD, and GBP has moved quite well. So we did have clear raid on liquidity, right? What do we call it? Or liquidity purge, liquidity sweep, any of those terms. Price did take liquidity, so we were bearish biased, and price just crashed all the way through into this daily fair value gap. And once again, since we reached this daily fair value gap, where do we expect price to push next? To a bearish fair value gap, right? So price fulfills lower objectives, then it needs to retrace either to the 50% of the dealing range and expand lower once again, or it's going to close through the 50% levels right there, and then it's going to expand higher. So either of those things are going to happen, but all we care about is this retracement, and there we have a high probability direction. So in this case, we have a bearish fair value gap right here. And price, I believe, has fulfilled the 50% as well, and we have a nice rejection. So as I explained in the previous week, we are expecting bearishness on GBP USD, and we expect GU to push all the way lower here to this sell side liquidity. All right. So that is where we are at. And that concludes Forex for us. We have dollar index, Euro USD, and GBP USD. We are expecting lower prices on GU. We are expecting higher prices on Euro. Of course, I know that is not really the ideal way to expect price to behave, but what could happen is Euro USD could push higher, dollar index could push lower, and GU could probably move higher into this daily fair value gap and fill this daily fair value gap while Euro expands, right? So that would complete the objectives for GU, and then we can expect this sell side liquidity to be reached in the near future. All right, so for the next week, I am bearish biased on GU, although I'll be looking at Euro and dollar index, and I expect probably price to take out this high for GU, and Euro could push higher during the same time frame to this daily fair value gap. All right. So just to conclude, we can just keep GU to the side because I don't really predominantly trade GU. I'm always focused on Euro and the dollar index. So with that in mind, just expect bullishness for Euro and bearishness for dollar index. All right. We have low resistance all the way here, so it should be a quick move. Now let's move to NASDAQ, right? And we did have price takeout of previous week's low, right? So this was a level we did watch and price fulfilled it. And you move to the 1 time frame, we have a clear range, right? So we have previous week's low. Low of the week is formed on Tuesday. This is classic price action. Monday's range, mark this out right there. Price takes out Monday's low, manipulates right here below previous week's low and Monday's low. This forms your low of the week. Wednesday expands through, and we have a fair value gap right here, as you can see, which is right about there. All right. So price on Thursday pushes through, targets that, fills it. Friday expands once again, and it does close through this bearish daily fair value gap, right? So what this means for us is on Monday or Tuesday, we can expect price to push higher to take out previous week's high, right? And on Monday as well, tomorrow, we do have a bank holiday. So do expect price to start moving low, moving higher, in my opinion, to new all-time highs later in the week. And GU did have this bearish 1 hour fair value gap, or should I say bearish inversion. That's really where we stopped, or we plotted the high of the week. This was discussed the previous week where we had a clear manipulation, closure through, and then price retraces into the change in state of delivery and expands, right? So I can show you the exact same thing which has happened this week as well. So we have Monday's opening price, which is right about here, which is 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what does price do? Just this exact same thing, right? You can see I just copy the exact same thing. Place it right here. We have price taking out equal lows, which would be here. But this is relative equal lows, but this is Monday's low. So Monday's range, price takes out Monday's low. Does it close through? Yes, it does, but this is outside the kill zone, but we can consider that for swing trading perspectives. Change in state of delivery, price retraces, but a bit more aggressive than we expected. Probably right here to this fair value gap would be perfect. Price pushes higher. What we would target was Monday's high here. So Monday's high is right about here, right there. Price pushes higher, forms a nice fair value gap right about there. Price taps into it, expands, and takes out Monday's high, right? See this right here? We have the exact same one right there, okay? So in the following week as well, we'll discuss this once again, and you will see how price behaves. So price pushes lower, takes out liquidity, pushes back higher, changes state of delivery, and that is the low of the week, which is on Tuesday, price expands. Similarly, we have the exact same thing here. Monday, price consolidates, but it does expand quite a bit, not really clean consolidation. Price pushes lower, takes out Monday's low, pushes back higher, changes state of delivery, then expands. All right, Tuesday low of the week, Tuesday low of the week. Doesn't really mean every single week we'll have a Tuesday low of the week profile, but whenever we do, this is really how it plays out. All right. So for now, on ES as well, we can expect price to take out this high and just expand to new all-time highs, right? So trying to expect price to form the high of the week, or just trying to short every single move higher is not a good move. We should definitely expect price to expand higher, wait for price to form a reversal structure on the higher time frames, and then we can be bearish. All right. But for now, just the time frame you're trading on, that is what's important to you. And with that, we are bullish. All right. So going back to the daily time frames, we just change all of this right there, and we have the daily time frame. We have clear buy side liquidity pool right here. That is our draw for ES. All right. So NASDAQ and ES, that's really where we stand. We expect price to push higher. All right. So clear direction has been given to us by price for the following week. Now let's move to gold and silver. So the previous week, I did say that I am bearish on gold and silver, although it didn't really play out exactly as I wanted to, but we are there. All right. So this is the same exact thing I was trying to show you on gold as well. So in the 1 hour time frame, you have price taking out liquidity, price pushing lower. We have a change in state of delivery right there, and price expands lower, right? And here as well on Monday, probably find the exact same thing. We have Monday's opening price, price pushes higher. You can see it takes out Monday's high right there, and we have a change in state of delivery right here. All right. See this? Really similar to this price action and here as well. All right. So you should definitely learn to read this. And once you see a few examples here, then you'll be able to spot it in real time. So moving to the higher time frames and still sticking to our bias, we are bearish on on gold. So these are the liquidity pools. We have a sell-side liquidity pool right there. This was 1, 2, and 3. The first one has been met, and I believe a few of you had a question as well as to which direction price is going to move on Monday. So this was Friday's candle, and I clearly showed you that we have equal lows right here, sell-side liquidity right there, and we have equal lows here and here, right? So I did expect bearishness to these lows, and price just got that beautifully right on Monday. And Tuesday, what does price do? Once again, daily time frame is really important, and this is why you should pay attention. Price pushes higher to reach a daily fair value gap right there. Okay, so we have a daily fair value gap which is formed upon Monday's closure. So Tuesday opens, price takes out Monday's high into this daily fair value gap, pushes lower to target Monday's low, right? So we have a Monday's range play as well. Price takes out Monday's high and Monday's low on Tuesday, and Wednesday takes out Tuesday's low, forms the low of the week, just consolidates right after. Now, my bias is still the same. I am expecting price to push lower to all of these sell-side liquidity pools, just as I mentioned in the previous week. But the objective has been met on gold, right? So just did consolidate right after that. The same goes for silver. And we did have quite an aggressive reaction from silver, and once again, consolidation, right? Which is quite normal. We can't really expand all the time. Price operates in this fashion. We are going to expand, then we're going to consolidate, we're going to expand, then we're going to consolidate. So we just have expanded and we're just consolidating. So it should expand and push lower, all right? So my bias is pretty clear on gold and silver. Clearly bearish biased. I want to see 57.965 on silver. That is where I believe price could move to. Gold to 4,000, all right? And let's get to crypto now. This is quite interesting because we did discuss this weekly bearish fair value gap in the previous stream. Weekly bearish fair value gap in premium. Price retraces all the way there. And I told you that everyone is bullish right about here. So we should push lower, all right? So we are pushing lower now. We did close below or close away from this fair value gap. That is quite good for us. We have clear engineered liquidity all the way here, right? All the way through. So which means our objectives are going to be lower. And the first objective we can look for Bitcoin is at $60,000, right? That is really where price can move to. And that is my bias, all right? You can see the order flow if you want to say that, or you can say clear daily direction. The daily direction is bearish. You can see all the way from here, we have price take out liquidity, pushes lower, change in state of delivery, pushes lower in the daily time frame. Daily bearish fair value gap has been tapped into and pushed lower. Once again, this exact same thing is happening here, right? So this is not really patterns repeating over and over again. This is just price retracing into fair value gaps and expanding from fair value gaps. All right. You can see this as well in previous examples. See here, price gets into a fair value gap, expands out of it, fair value gap, expands out of it, and sometimes order blocks as well, right? But I'm not really a big fan of order blocks. I like fair value gaps a lot more. So we still stand true to our bias, which is bearish, and daily time frame is quite interesting. The exact same thing, right? So let me just move this to the side and you can focus here as well. Once again, we have Monday's range right here. Okay, Monday, 18th of May, right there. What does price do? So this is Sunday, so all the way through, right? Price takes Monday's high. Does it not? Yes, it does. Does price form the high of the week post Monday's high being taken? Yes, it does. Right there. Okay, this is your clear manipulation above Monday's high. And do we not reach Monday's low? Yes, we do. Once again, you can see price plays out beautifully from Monday's highs and lows. Now, if I drop down to, let's see, the 1 hour time frame, or let's go with the 4 hour time frame. Actually, let's go to the 1 hour. All right, we have clear manipulation. So this is what you would call your power of 3. You have the opening price needs to be set at Monday's 12 a.m. just right there. So we have clear liquidity here. Monday's low, Monday's high. This is your Tuesday's opening price right there. So clear liquidity has been established. Price pushes higher to a 1 hour bearish fair value gap, right? So price fills it. We have clear engineered liquidity all the way here, right? All the way through. So price needs to take all of them after manipulation. So price confirms manipulation, breaks down lower. We have clear change state of delivery right there. Okay, is it not really similar to gold? Is it not really similar to NASDAQ, ES, all the pairs, right? So this is universal. This is how price prints. And once you do really understand that liquidity pools are really important, and today's live stream, you have really learned the importance of Monday's range, right? So how it is really affected, and it does quite repeat quite often. It's not really a defined framework that does work on all the time frames at all times, but this does work, all right? So price takes out Monday's high, changes state of delivery right there. Wait, price did take out this high, so changes state of delivery would be here. Retracement into this 1 hour value gap, breaks down lower to target Monday's low, right? Same exact thing on, I believe, on Ethereum as well. But that is where we stand as of now. I do believe this is a retracement which has been completed for Bitcoin, and we should start expanding lower, all right? So I do believe that price is going to push lower. Let's see, we don't have a weekly value gap, so this is perfect. So price needs to move all the way lower to target all of these low resistance to $60,000 from here, right? That's really what my expectations are. Moving to Ethereum, we have the exact same thing. We are bearish in Ethereum. Same exact logic. Price has returned into this bearish weekly fair value gap right there, okay? And how do you determine if price is going to move to the 50% level, is going to move to this high, or it's going to move to this high, right? So there are a couple of ways you can do it. But one way you could do it is just to see if price reacts away from these levels, right? So wait for the reaction, and then you can decide if you want to be part of the move. There are ways where you can predict where this high is going to form, and this high is going to form, and you will know that that is where price is going to reverse from. But what I will teach you now is the reaction and how you can trade based off of that. So in the 1 day time frame, and this is quite important if you are with the weekly levels or the monthly levels, all right? So right there, okay? The change in state of delivery is what you're looking forward to. So right here, price closes through, retraces in. That is what you need to know that price is not really going to push high, right? This is all you would need to expect price to move lower. Yes, it took a lot of time, a lot of consolidation. We have a lot of consolidations all the way here through, but that is because we expanded quite aggressively, right? So in Ethereum, we expanded about 48%, right? In a span of 23 days. So it's quite aggressive. So expecting price to consolidate for about 70 days is quite normal, right? Price did move about 40%. So we crashed about 48, we moved about 40% relative to the current price. So price is moving lower now, which is quite normal, all right? So I do see a lot of traders or a lot of posts on Twitter which just panics whenever we have this large expansion, right? So these expansions can be predicted. It's quite easy. Price consolidates, then it expands, right? So for now, you will see a few posts as well being brought up because price is going to move aggressively lower from here. And they won't say anything now, but they'll say when price reaches it. So the objective for Ethereum still remains the same. We are targeting 1742, and that is where I believe price should get to. All right. So hopefully all of that is clear. And let me just see if there's any questions. Quite new to YouTube and streaming, right? So, all right, what's your analysis on Bitcoin, gold, and GR40? I just explained my analysis on Bitcoin and gold, but GR40, I don't really trade that, so I wouldn't be able to give you my clear perspectives on it. All right, US oil. Just give me a second. All right, so yeah, it doesn't really look great, I would say. But I did call out a move on US oil. So let me just explain that as well quite quickly. So we have a bearish fair value gap right there. Yeah, equal highs all the way here. So price is expanded through it. And this is on the 3-month chart. So price is just going to probably consolidate here. I don't really believe you're going to reach new highs for oil. I would say lower prices are in due just because we have clear equal engineered lows right about here. All right, so that is really where I believe price will get to. Its correlated gasoline has been expanding quite aggressively. So not really sure. I would say I would give it a 50-50 on oil. Not really sure of the clear direction because if price closes above this gap, then I would say I'm bullish. But until then, I would be quite bearish bias to these lows. All right, that's the best I can do. All right, so that is for weeds. And next question is, I've seen your breakdown on Euro USD for the last week, with Tuesday being half the week. When was this clear to you and why? As for me, a Wednesday low of the week was still on the table, unsure which weekly profile. Okay, that's a good question. Let me try to explain as well as I can, right? All right, so Tuesday half the week, right? So I believe it was the week before. So we did have Tuesday half the week here, and we have 1 year. Okay, let's just look at this one. All right, so when was it clear to me that we would have a Tuesday half the week, right? So whenever we take out a daily level, so in this case would be Euro USD's Monday's high, right? But it is complemented with a daily fair value gap or a weekly fair value gap. That is really when I am quite sure that that would be the reactionary level which price is going to form its weekly high or weekly low pick, right? So I'm trying to visualize a weekly open high low close. So with that, price has taken out a daily fair value gap, and I'm sorry, Monday's high, and has pushed into a daily fair value gap. That is really where I'm already bearish biased, and I'm already expecting price to form the high of the week. So let's just say I go to the 1 hour time frame, and I see this, right? So you did expect that Wednesday was going to be low of the week, which was right there, and Thursday did form low of the week. All right. So first we'll discuss the high of the week. So price did take Monday's high, right? And what do you see here on the 1 hour time frame? You have your Monday opening price. Price expands all the way through to a daily level, right? So price has reached a daily level and taken out Monday's high. So that is where I will first be like, all right, so price has done its thing now, so we should expect lower prices. And once price confirms a change in state of delivery, so in this case would be the series of up close candles, right? So CISD is not this one, right? This would be wrong. CISD is the series of up close candles, so which would be this one, right? So especially when price confirms the CISD and leaves a bearish fair value gap, that is really when I'll believe that lower prices are due. Of course, in this example, price did take a lot of time. It took a few hours to get here, but usually it does happen somewhere around here. That is really what will confirm to me that we need to push lower. All right. So concerning the the low of the week, this was quite good. All right. So if you did expect right there, did expect here, and especially at this reaction level that this is going to be the low of the week, that is quite good, I would say. This was just one of those scenarios where price didn't really expand higher, because you see on the 4 hour time frame, we do have price returning to the 50% of its level, right? So just to explain this clearly, whenever price takes external liquidity, or whenever price takes or fulfills a higher time frame objective, it is going to retrace, right? So it's either going to reverse or it's either going to retrace. So in this case, price did retrace. And where did it retrace to? The 50% right here, which is your dealing range. And you look for an array in premium. So in this case would be this bearish daily fair value gap. I'm sorry, 4 hour fair value gap, right? So if you extend that right there, that is where price reached. So that would be the objective met, right? So trying to fall or trying to catch this move all the way here to the 50% would be quite high probability. That's what I would like. But once price has fulfilled an objective higher, I would not really expect price to move higher and form a new high, right? Because that's really not what we can get, because the order flow is bearish and we have fulfilled the daily objectives right above us. All right. So hopefully that should be clear. And let me know if you all have any questions or anything else you want me to analyze before we end the stream. And hopefully the next week will be quite good. I'm quite excited for the next week, if I'm being honest, because just look at this daily structure, right? We have clear consolidation all the way through. So price consolidates and then expands, right? So price action will be really clean, especially on the lower time frames moving forward the next week. Okay, I don't believe there are any other questions. I would say thank you all for joining, and we shall meet once again next week at the same time. But if you do want to watch my streams every single day while I trade and while I explain doubts in real time, you can definitely join my university. The link is in the description. And for the rest of you, I shall speak to you all once again next week. All right. So do take care and stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.